Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're back. A 3-night in a row extravaganza, the Rem and Sam weekend. We're taking over, people. Mike Tyson, Corday, the NFL, so many big sporting events. And we are back again. A Sunday night edition. NFL Week 11 is in progress. And we have some breaking news, some sad news to announce this off to start. Justin Tucker is washed, people. It's just what it is. The man sucks now. No, we'll ease into it. We'll get into the reactions. We still got games in high action. Of course, the headline of the day is currently in progress. The headline bout between Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen. And as we jump on here, Pat Mahomes has just taken the lead. Just driving down the field and getting the touchdown 14-13. And the Bills had a pretty good start, getting an early score, and then Mahomes as well too had a turnover early. So there was a little bit of, how what could this turn into for the Bills here? I think, Sam is, I don't know if he was, counting on the fact that it was later into the stream, but he was maybe saying that he wanted the Chiefs to take an L this week. Well, not that he wanted, but if they took an L this week, this might be a good week for it to happen. And it was like, okay, could things get, a little snowbally here? Again, I think they're all, I don't know if the undefeated thing is like a big storyline for the Chiefs. I mean, we haven't really heard that at all. They haven't really talked about it. And again, it's only really 9-0. So while it's impressive for the start of a season in terms of doing an historic run, we're just now past the halfway mark. Like, there's still quite a bit of football here to play before we start going, okay, are the Chiefs going to make, some kind of record-breaking push here? And then now, even with the playoff structure the way it is, it becomes a little bit harder. But I guess, if you're undefeated in the regular season, you're still going to be the 1 seed. Your first round bye is not necessarily going to be affected too much. But, going on the road at Buffalo too, if there was just like a little bit of a mental, they've had such a, it's not like it's been a dominant 9-game stretch, but it's been, such a crazy 9-game stretch. And then the emotional win last week. Oh, man, Dua Lipa in a commercial throwing us off, people. It's just what it is. We'll get back on track. But, with the emotional win of last week to if there was a potential moment where they were like, okay, maybe this is not our week. This is not going to happen. And then the Bills kind of take over from there, and then it just gets out of control. We wouldn't necessarily be totally shocked, but the Chiefs continue to fight. The Chiefs defense continues to be, maybe just, I don't know what we can talk about for that team in that unit in terms of like historical stuff quite yet. Because again, we are only halfway through the season. So if, for some reason, some weird stuff happens and they drop some games, maybe they don't drop games, but they get bounced early in the playoffs for some weird reason against the team, then that would they would still have the back-to-back Super Bowl run is definitely nothing to, take lightly. That's for sure. But, the three-peat element, and then this sort of immediate unit of guys here. But this defensive run, I don't know what we can talk about them for historical context, but they've got another turnover as well. So I don't know what the numbers would compare to, like, those early Patriots teams or some of the great defenses of the past, but just the ability to keep the team in the game, to get the turnovers when they count. I don't even know when the last time a team has like really even gotten, up on the Chiefs. When was the last time they were down by 10, chat? Or not, maybe, not 10 exactly, but when was the last time it felt like a game was getting out of hand? Obviously, the games have either been close this year or they themselves have kind of been, a little bit dominating. Do we have to go like all the way back to that Titans game with Derrick Henry? Or is there some Bengals matchup in there we're not thinking of? Let's see what we've got here, chat. When was the last time the Chiefs really lost and like actually got defeated? Not just like lost a game, but when was the last time the Chiefs were like really defeated in a football game? Obviously 9-0 this year. So we're going to have to go back to last year even just to start. And again, they do have the lead right now. So as the Bills drive here, just under 2 minutes, just coming out of the 2-minute warning. And picking up the first down. I mean, they've moved the ball pretty consistently here. The run game has looked good. If Allen doesn't have that turnover, I mean, that could definitely be a scoring drive there. A field goal. They still had the lead. And they don't have Coleman or Kincaid as well, but they do get Cooper back. Of course, Shakur is still out there. Still some guys. Still, I would say, a capable receiving room, especially if you get Cooper. But last year, the Chiefs were 11-6. And they definitely, a lot of one-score losses here. So it would have been Denver. It would have been that Week 8 game at Denver. 9-24. Because the rest of the losses, their other 5 losses last year, chat. Week 1, they lost to Detroit by 1. Lost to Philly 17-21. Green Bay. Oh, they lost to Green Bay 19-27. So, barely one score, 8 points. But Buffalo 17-20. And then Vegas 14-20 as well. But the last team to really take it to them, the Denver Broncos, and they're doing it again today. Pause. 21-6. And driving right now, 3rd and 8. Bo Nix underneath. Gets it to go. It's going to be 1st and goal. And again, 21-6. The goal to go situations. I mean, Bo Nix has been using the entire field tonight. Drives all the way down to the goal line. Punch it in. You love to see it. I don't know if that means that they don't get explosive runs, but regardless, they're a matriculating team, chat. Next week, we're going to do our matriculation rankings. The Niners might be up there. The Niners, the catch and run, the playmakers that they have can be so dynamic running that they just turn into explosive plays. But definitely, their fair short yardage stuff. Just swinging the ball to McCaffrey on this last one here. And we've only got the 3 games in action right now for the NFL, but a pretty interesting NBA slate is also on the horizon here. We can't help ourselves, chat. There's a couple of games we're looking at. The Suns are playing the Timberwolves right now, so we should probably check out that score. Of course, the Suns dominating the Western Conference at the moment. Whoa, chat, 117-117 with less than a minute. Do we have time to tap in? Obviously, it's the Timberwolves. We're going to have to do some tricky maneuvers, but let's see what we can do, chat, in this quick amount of time. Only 20 seconds left in the first half of this game as well, too. But Allen with the completion out of bounds. They were already in field goal range, but now they're definitely going to have a nice little shot at the end zone here. But maybe we get overtime in Timberwolves Suns? If we're lucky. We didn't check the stats, so we'll see who's popping off when we jump in the game here. But Hollins as well getting open. We forgot to mention Hollins in that the very capable stacked Buffalo receiver room. Josh Allen, chat, he has the regular season number for Mahomes. Sails this one out of bounds. Okay, chat. Can the Timberwolves hand the Suns their 3rd loss of the season? Outside of the Cavs, it has to be up there. The Celtics have 3 losses, right? 2 or 3? And maybe OKC. So top 4 record at least. Oh, and the Bills received the second half. Kickoff. Wow, with 16 seconds left here. So they better not score in 3 seconds. Get that 13-second deja vu. Oh, They're going to get a field goal here, chat, at the end of the half. So they could go a nice little 10-point swing, be up by 9 if all things work well. But you know Spags is going to dial up some pressures. The Bills offense, there's going to be some kind of 3-and-out or something. A field goal to start the second half. 6 points on the turnaround. Not fully taking advantage. And Mahomes as well, too, has been getting to the end zone. Maybe that was the thing that we overlooked with the Butker injury was, yes, obviously he's one of the better, more consistent kickers in the league. But now is just Mahomes forced to actually get touchdowns and drive the ball the length of the field? Okay, chat. Devin Booker's going to take the game winner. We got here just in time. Can he get it off? He got the look, chat. He got the look wide open and missed it. Did they call a foul before? I think they were expecting a foul when Devin Booker turned the corner on the drive. And when he turned the corner, chat, he got the floater. And he got the look you want. He just didn't get it to go. Edwards on the defense. Oh, did they get Devin Booker on the hook? He hooked him with his off arm pretty good, chat. But either way, not able to convert. The Timberwolves are going to get a shot, but I don't know if you'd rather have, an overtime or that look back if you're Booker. So, yeah, the Bills get the field goal. The half expires. They'll be at least up 2 with the chance to go, up 4. They'll at least be up a touchdown potentially on that first drive. But, up 4, that's like barely up a touchdown. That's if they score a touchdown, you're now down a field goal. Things could turn quickly here. Somehow the Bills just aren't going to totally capitalize on this. The Chiefs are going to hang around in the game. This is classic scripting, people. We've seen this before. And make no mistake, the NFL knows how to reuse a script. They did it again today in Bears-Packers. They reused the same ending we saw last week in Chiefs-Broncos. And, in that game as well, too, that felt like the Chiefs, they've kind of been this team all year where they've won these games in these sloppy manners. But it's been like these, it's been the defense that's, and the special teams that have been really good this year for them, and maybe, arguably the best unit on the team for just going over the course of the season. And the defense has had the game-winning plays. Mahomes has had his moments and his drives as well, too. Randall with the game winner! Whoa, chat! They got, with 2 seconds left, they got the timeout and they advanced the ball. And Randall got the easy look for 3. The Suns kind of really gave up there in the last 8 seconds, chat. Wow, Randall. That's Towns' spot. That would have been Towns' shot in that role. And Randall is no Durant. The Suns have been, with Booker maintaining a little bit. Oh, they've dropped a couple here, chat. They're now down to 9-5. Timberwolves at 8-6. They're catching them, chat. Tyus Jones. Grayson Allen, the second leading scorer tonight for the Suns with 18. And then Tyus Jones with 13. Randall with 35. Wow, the Kentucky boys battling it out tonight in the NBA. Randall getting the win. Both 8 and 9 from the free throw line. And I think if you're drawing up plays, you'd much rather, Booker's a better shot maker in that aspect than Randall just in general. So to say you might have Booker taking any shot over Randall, but that Booker floater versus a Randall three-pointer, if you flipped it around and it was a Randall floater versus a Booker three-pointer, you still feel pretty good about a floater. Again, we know Devin Booker's talent, and you may just still take him to hit shots in the big moments, but Devin Booker, close range. Let's go, because we had sound off. Let's just go double check the plays and make sure that was logged as a miss. Yeah, misses. He missed it. No foul, chat. Didn't even get the rim. The Suns got the rebound back, and then the shot clock violation. But Randall on the other end breaks the tie. Unbelievable, chat. So let's get a quick update on the Western Conference, because the Suns were sitting at the top, and with the age of the Suns, we knew maybe that there'd be an injury or two, a stretch of the season where some guys would be out. So if they sort of leveled back out a little bit, I don't think that'd totally be shocking. But obviously, we don't want to. If we're the Suns, we don't want to be in the play-in. We want to be a top 6. Ideally a top 4, but definitely a top 6 team. We're not messing around with these kids in these extra games. And we just want to see that kind of regular season. We want to see him be that kind of a regular season team, I think, with the coaching change and with some of the additions that they've made as well. So going into today's action, they were in the 5th seed, but they were tied with the same record with the Rockets, the Lakers, and then the Phoenix Suns in the 5th spot. So 3, 4, and 5 are all tied with the same record. I guess just in the way the tiebreakers lay out, that's where the seeding is at. But yeah, OKC at 11-2, and then Golden State at 10-2 atop the Western Conference. Cleveland at 14-0, Boston at 11-3 are the 4 double-digit teams right now, double-digit win teams. Anyway, so Phoenix could have gotten in there tonight, but did not. Minnesota currently the 9 seed, tied with Memphis at 7-6. Sacramento has 6 losses as well, but they're 8-6. So Miami is currently playing Indiana. There is 4 games that are going to tip off at any minute now, and then in about an hour we get 3 more. So that Sunday night barrage of games. Nuggets, Grizzlies, Hornets, Cavs, Mavs, Thunder, Knicks, Nets, Rockets, Bulls. I mean, there's stuff to keep an eye on, chat. NBA definitely will never go away, but we need to pay attention to what's important, chat. The NFL in action. And like we were saying as well, too, with them reusing storylines and the Bears losing on the blocked field goal attempt. Caleb Williams today, 23 of 31 for 231 yards. Maybe not doing the most in terms of pushing the ball down the field on a lot of the passes, but in the second half, I thought he had some really nice, intermediate kind of throws out to the sideline, throws over the top of the defense. They stalled out on a couple of drives for sure there in the fourth quarter. But again, in the clutch moments, chat, he moved the ball down the field, got them in field goal range. And to be honest, chat, that was not like a very long field goal, but it did also feel like it was a very low kick when the angle happened. And then the block was so subtle on it, chat, that it did really just look like the kick was almost a dud. It was a 46-yarder in the end. And then, let's see here. For the couple of drives before that. But also on that play before the field goal attempt, they get into the range. And they have the timeout as well, too. And I think there's at least 20, 25 seconds, but I think there's even 30 seconds left, close to 30 seconds left anyways, on the clock at that point. And they kind of just choose to run it out when they could have definitely gotten up to the line, run a quick play, at least like Brady. If Brady, the one time he actually points out something on the broadcast, are we in week 11? And the fourth quarter, very last play of the game. But Brady, he's getting there. He's working on it. But, says like, hey, they actually do have time to run another play here. I don't even think it was like a super hot take by Brady with that much time left on the clock. and the one timeout. And, at least you're getting it 40 yards. Maybe that's changing the angle of the kick. I mean, they definitely did, like in that Chiefs attempt as well, too. Like, definitely get a good push on the line. It wasn't just that it was all a low field goal attempt. Like, the defender who blocked it was definitely in, he was definitely in there. But the only thing the NFL really did mix up is where the block happened. I mean, the Chiefs rushing off the left side, Green Bay up the middle. But same ending. And I feel like, back-to-back weeks, I feel like they got to spread that out a little bit. And at least give us a little bit of time to reset. And, not be so used to it. It's like, oh, man, we just saw this one last week. But unfortunate for Bears fans. Unfortunate for the Caleb Williams narrative as well, too, that he wasn't able to walk away with the victory from a game where he also just didn't turn the ball over. And if I remember correctly, because, with the red zone, you're kind of bouncing around a little bit. I can't say, I saw like every single Caleb Williams pass, but didn't have any turnover-worthy throws for the most part. Yeah, they had this 12-play drive in the fourth quarter. The delay of the penalty on 4th and 3, where they were faking going for it. And yeah, he had that completion underneath to a Dunze for 5 yards. So he was a little bit safer, and that was on a 3rd and 8. A little bit safer throughout the day. But again, I think some of those intermediate stuff, because like we were kind of thinking going into the week here, chat, that him and Anthony Richardson were, there's a lot of similar stuff on the eye from the NFL film that they put up eye test wise, but also, the kind of athletic, mobile, fluidity, throw on the run type quarterbacks. Obviously, Richardson's got a little bit different dynamic with his size and speed, but just the general accuracy for Caleb Williams, like I think he's been missing throws. Like some of his misses have been in, what's worse sometimes, Richardson's had definitely some decision making stuff that's maybe not, Caleb Williams maybe hasn't quite matched that, but just some of the general, he should make that throw and it doesn't happen. And it's been in those intermediate and some of those like touch pass type scenarios where I don't think it's like, and we're not, like going back to Lamar Jackson's development as a quarterback, it was never like that he couldn't develop it as a quarterback. It was just at the time his accuracy at certain ranges was not there. There was also maybe some mechanical stuff that people were looking at and like, okay, he might need to clean this up as well too. Again, not that. And, make no mistake, the NFL was not like super eager to draft Lamar, obviously. Slid to the end of the first round. But, it's not like Caleb Williams is an inaccurate passer where maybe other quarterbacks would have gotten that label. I just think he's been a little rushed, a little hurried, a little, it's just like not everything's been clicking going into this season, going into the games that they've been playing. And, the offensive coordinator move, maybe you just point to that and go, hey, look at that. The offense plays a lot better. The offensive game planning, again, it was simple stuff for Caleb Williams. Didn't ask him to do it too much. And then when there was plays for him to make down the field, he made a couple of them, had a good drive. I thought the play calling was definitely a little more, fitted to him as well. But the run game for Chicago also definitely showed up. And Swift is one of those guys where, you start doing your running back rankings. You're not necessarily going to like, how high can I put DeAndre Swift on this list? But, you get, and it can just be a usage sometimes thing with the running back where, in Detroit before they bring in the Gibbs-Montgomery combination and they're still trying to do sort of the powerhouse thing. Like they're giving Swift all that workload, but he was still like a really good runner on that team. And I still think when he went to Philly as well too, he was playing really well. And it felt like the same thing with Caleb Williams. Like he just hasn't been as a runner, sort of the same dynamic in the open field, making guys miss, getting big plays. And, again, the offensive line, there's been criticism of other units on the team. But, it's like, okay, is a guy, is there never going to be a play where he's just going to make something happen? But, there was a couple of plays on the outside, that last touchdown run that he had, of course, the prime example of that, where it was like, okay, he is actually capable of, again, you wouldn't say he would be Saquon. Obviously the Eagles made the upgrade there, and now, you see the difference. You do see the difference between a guy like Saquon, where it's week to week. He's just you can run the offense through him. He's gonna make plays in every big moment and put up the big stats and be efficient and all that stuff. But Swift can definitely have those moments and have those games and be a big performer at the running back position. So to see him back cooking a little bit, maybe Caleb Williams gets a little bit comfortable. If you're Bears fans, at the end of the day, it's still that franchisey type thing, because that's the thing with the Bears or the Broncos. The Broncos, make no mistake, it's up and down. It's 5 wins one year, 8 wins one year. We get a quarterback for a couple of years, in the mix, and then it's a 12-win team for a couple of years as well too. And the Bears are one of those teams though that actually have desperate fan base, real trauma, real fears about stuff that goes on with this team. And that's one of those ones where, again, even if there's good stuff to take away, the fact that it was just this fluky thing, why does this happen to us type play, that's all, that's unfortunately all the Bears fans are going to take away from this one is, of course this stuff happens. And, it's true, the double doink, the special team stuff, it does only happen to the Bears, but that's also just going to factor into the bigger picture of, oh, look at this. We get a chance to draft a generational guy. We get this awesome trade. We just stumble into this first round pick and, magically have a chance to find our quarterback. And, maybe again, we have stock in the guy, but maybe there's some systematic stuff. Maybe, it's a situation where, of course, it's not going to work out for him on our team. But again, I think today Caleb Williams really showed some stuff. And the benching thing it just makes no sense, chat. And I get that maybe some of the players on the team, I don't really know what those reports are. This is just stuff that we were seeing, on the headlines on the TVs, just moving around. But seeing that some of the veterans wanted the other quarterback to play, is that just all on the field stuff? Is there other stuff that's going on as well too behind the scenes that we don't know the full stories about? Do we need to get the Hard Knock cameras back in there? Did we have them in there a little bit too early? Who knows? But seems like this week things were definitely a lot calmer for Chicago. And, Green Bay is, of course, a good team. So I think they're probably and they were in Chicago. So they were probably 2.5-point favorites. Oh, they were 6-point favorites, chat. No respect for Chicago whatsoever. The Chicago defense. Did Vegas just expect the Jordan Love turnaround to happen in Week 11 again? Because they showed that graphic, chat, of Jordan Love's performance last season, Weeks 1 through 10, and then what he did, the remaining Weeks 11 through 18. And you remember how Jordan Love really stepped up his game down the stretch of the season, and of course, how that carried over into that playoff game against the Cowboys. But it is funny to look at that graphic and go, wait a second, that guy got a contract. Just the thought of a guy getting a contract the season after having a 10-game stretch where it's he was almost throwing as many interceptions as touchdowns. And, I guess he's not Mahomes. He's not off of, winning 3 Super Bowls, taking his team to 4 and doing all the, MVPs and great stuff. He was sitting behind a veteran quarterback for the first couple of years. But, he performed in the playoffs as well, too. We get the market thing for the quarterback. We understand how it works. And I'm not saying that we wouldn't have done the same thing if we were Green Bay, chat, but that is still technically most of your it's barely a majority, but it is still technically more of your games. And it's kind of could be the same thing again this season. His efficiency was way up today. He didn't have that many passes. He was 13 for 17 for 261. He did have an interception and a touchdown. So only one pick from weeks 11 to 18 last week. I guess he's used up his one interception get Jordan Love in fantasy now, because no interceptions for the next couple of weeks here as he gets his stats kind of turned around. Caleb Williams also only 3 sacks as well today too. So, a little bit of an improvement from where it's been at. Wasn't it like 9 sacks versus the Patriots or something like that? And he was definitely, holding on to the ball a little bit. And maybe that'll just, unfortunately, Bears fans, that may be just a Caleb Williams sort of habit. Who knows, year or two into the offseason, into the coming weeks, new coach, new game plan, the buy into different kinds of stuff. You never know what kind of, career paths and developments his career will take. But I mean, at USC too, that's kind of exactly how he played. And of course, it's not that he was just able to get away with it in college. I mean, there is some of that as well too. He was also really elite at doing it. So pause. So, if it's working, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think there was some maybe, if we're talking about USC competitively, maybe there's some other team stuff as to, maybe why they were a little outside looking in on the national championship picture when they did have a guy like Caleb Williams. But regardless, his sort of extend the play, always, making sure until the last minute to try to see if he's got an option, definitely might not be the most ideal thing, even if he's having a good performance like this to, a better and more improved performance like this today. But there was more times as well, I think, where he was holding on to the ball a little bit, but he was getting it down to his checkdowns. And it's like, okay, if you're going to do this, like, have the escape plan, make sure you're, creating something with your legs and you have the lane there, or you do have that sort of outlet pass, and you're not waiting too long to get there where now the pressure's there and it's, one of those scoop kind of passes where we've seen those go disastrous, or you just can't make it all or whatsoever. Like, if you're going to be sort of a, a long-winded quarterback with your decision, and not that he's not necessarily processing quickly, it's just, he's not seeing what he wants soon enough. He's like really using the full pitch count back there at the snap. But just, especially on some certain third down and fourth down, like on some short yardage situations, like, make sure you're just moving the ball and keeping the offense on the field. Because like there was a 4th and 3 where it was getting really close and it looked like the defensive line was collapsing in on him a little bit, but the running back was there. He got it out to the running back. They were able to keep the chains moving. So it's just, little plays like that where the offensive line now all of a sudden, maybe their PFF grades are going to go up because they're not giving up so many sacks. They're not having to protect for 4 and 5 seconds every time. But again, I think the play calling looked a little bit better for the Bears as well today. It helps if you actually have a run game and you're trying to do a little bit more, power runny type stuff, because, you bringing in Shane Waldron, that is, what you're kind of trying to do. Like, you're not bringing in necessarily, and, we're not scheme guys here on the Rem and Sam pod, but especially Seattle with Russ, with Geno, wherever his overlap was there, they were definitely in that more vein of run, play action, set the stuff up, look downfield. So to get that element back as well too, get Swift looking good. I mean, we were talking Bears sleeper playoff team. Maybe that's not and sleeper playoff team, I don't know if, anybody in the NFC is just a couple of win streak games away from getting in the mix. Like, Arizona might win 3 or 4 games in a row, and all of a sudden are they the second best team in the NFC? Like, that's how it could fluctuate over the course of a month. But, the signs for Caleb Williams progressing, but, maybe what kind of team you have to build around him as well, because the power run game in that is looking good. Like, if that looks good and it's still like, there's elements of this that we know there's a ceiling to what this kind of offense could be, now you need to kind of start moving in a different direction. And make no mistake, like, if anything, that may be long-term good for the Bears fans to get some more losses on the resume, because everybody's going right now except for Eberflus. And shout out to Eberflus. I mean, old Colts coach, old Colts coach. Yeah, I think we got that out right. And anybody from the Horseshoe family, we're gonna support, and we want the best interest in them for their careers. But maybe maybe in the best interest of Matt Eberflus's career, maybe coaching in Chicago is not the move anymore. Caleb Williams, of course, as a former number 1 overall pick and former highly talented prospect, that's going to be a desirable destination for anybody. So it's like, okay, maybe that would be a good job for Eberflus to have. But again, maybe his styles as a coach don't line up with what's going on in Chicago right now. And I was seeing after Waldron got fired that they've let go of like 8 coaches or something like that. I don't know what the exact number is, chap, but at least 5. And I want to say, the crazy number that I remember in my head is 8 coaches have, been in rotation since Matt Eberflus has been in charge there in Chicago. So it's like, maybe it's karma at some point that Eberflus, maybe looking at new cities on Zillow at some point here in the upcoming weeks. But the Bears, they're not, in terms of the head coaching position, they're one of those teams that they'll wait for the offseason. They'll ride and die for the 18 games what they have. But if they're compiling the file for the end of the season, I know Eberflus will be like, maybe this is a game that actually was like, hey, we got in the position to win. But ownership will be like, hey, remember all those games we lost? We're just looking. Oh, no. We're just looking at the losses. Sorry, buddy. You're gone. 3rd and 3 for Buffalo. I think both teams have had the ball so far, so nobody's really been able to, the Bills weren't able to capitalize on their advantage of the kickoffs. The Chiefs not able to take advantage of stopping the Bills for it. So now we're back to even, and the Bills keep the chains moving. They're now approaching midfield. So we've got the Seahawks as well, too, up on the Niners. The Seahawks at 4-5, another one sort of outside looking in on the playoffs. But the Niners at 5-4, if they go to 500 today, chat, and if they lose this game, like the Seahawks are, of course, a feisty team, but, they've had some losses where, there's been some field goals. There's been some moments where you could go, oh, maybe this is just one of those seasons for the Niners. Things aren't going their way. There's been some fluky stuff. But, if you got some divisional games here where you drop that game against the Rams late, you lose to the Seahawks now, then they lost to the Cardinals as well too, right, chat? We're not crazy. That'd be losses to all the divisional opponents. Is Kyle Shanahan, are they figuring him out? Five and 4 on the season. And again, not that not that playoff hopes are at stake here, but yeah, they lost to Arizona by 1. They lost to Minnesota the week before losing to the Rams. They lost to the Rams in week 3, the Vikings in week 2. That Kansas City loss, Kansas City definitely, look the better team. But if you have a couple of these divisional losses now on the resume, it's like, maybe the Niners are just kind of a 500 team. But they do get the touchdown on this drive. Back up by 1 point. 4 points. Thought it was 16. 14. It's 13-17. And the Bills are not able to keep the drive going. Shakir with the drop. The pass was a little behind him. But he definitely could have had that. Twisting around trying to make the catch. And going to the ground as well, too. It's not like he's, I guess he is falling down, but not like you're worried about yards after the catch in that kind of situation. So Mahomes will get the ball back. And a chance to take the lead. I think Hopkins is healthy, people. I just don't know if he's necessarily been a huge presence in this game. Worthy's made some plays at the receiver position, so he's kind of been the guy sneakily taking over. And, with Hopkins maybe being more of a focus, now you have him and Kelsey out there. Maybe that's a lot of even more attention taken away from Worthy. So, it just becomes a little bit more of a reason to expose that. But Bo Nix, and another storyline reused. I mean, Bo Nix was just reusing Kyler Murray's stat line from last week. I think Kyler Murray was 17 for 19 going into the half. A touchdown, bunch of yards. Bo Nix, 17 and 19. At least near the end of the first half there. Also a bunch of points on the board. And, again, moving the ball down the field. And he is still at 26 for 31. And if they make this field goal attempt, chat, they're about to cross the 30-point mark. Right down the middle from 45, 31-6. I mean, Atlanta, NFC South, make no mistake, anybody in the NFC South, maybe you have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. But, I mean, for Denver, Atlanta's a good team. This is definitely a, much better, a performance you need after a game where, the Chiefs ultimately get the win at the end of the game, but with the way the Broncos defense play, and again, with, Bo Nix maybe not having the game of his career, but, still having moments this season and still hanging in there with Mahomes, you go, should we have won that game? Should the Chiefs have won that game? And then, ultimately it's crazy and it works out and that's how it ultimately should have goes. Or, maybe we're actually a team that can hang and actually go toe-to-toe with some of these better teams. And then the next week, you're at home, you're against another playoff team, and if it's in a weaker conference, and you have a dominant performance, it's a way to get back on track, that's for sure. And the Chiefs as well, too, when their offense doesn't look any better on the other side. Is Bo Nix, will he be a threat to Mahomes' throne in the AFC West? In the future, chat, will Bo Nix be the first one to dethrone Mahomes' AFC West title run here? I know Herbert has been in the mix now for a couple years. Fortunately, Staley has neutralized him if you're a Chiefs fan. Of course, the Raiders are maybe on the verge of adding a guy. Could the Raiders add Shador? Could Shador be in the mix all of a sudden in the AFC West? Paxton Lynch? Was there ever a thought that maybe it was Paxton Lynch? But no, chat. Bo Nix might be the one in the future with Sean Payton and with that Denver defense to ultimately be the ones that take down Kansas City. And again, it's not like the Falcons have been the hottest team in the league lately. And Kirk Cousins has played well, but Bijan has been really good as of late. And if we want to talk about running backs carrying the offense, I don't think he's hit the 100-yard rushing mark in every game, but he's been over 100 scrimmage yards in each of the last handful of games. And as a receiver, he might be the best receiving back in the league. Maybe the best receiving back of like the high volume, the 3-down running backs. Because, we start mixing in receiving threats. I guess Achane he's like a 2.5 down back. I guess you could play him at 3 downs if you really wanted to try to risk it. So would Achane be in the mix? Derrick Henry has, of course, had his fair share of, if he gets ahead of steam on a screen, he's definitely going to be deadly. McCaffrey, of course, is a dual threat guy along with Saquon. You can never leave out, but it's just Bijan in the open field is so shifty. And, receiving can kind of put you on the edge a little bit more. Maybe you're just in a different kind of a position to make a play on a defender one-on-one. And he's definitely been dynamic doing that. And, you want to give Kirk Cousins some easy passes. Make sure to have those outlets to him. So Mahomes, ever since the interception, and make no mistake, it's been a lot of swings, a lot of easy completions, but he's 13 of 19 now for 125. And the run game's going a little bit, chat. I mean, this is a win either way. Like, if the Chiefs do, like, if they win this game in that sort of ugly last second, this is a battle. This is close. You got a nail bite again. Chiefs fans, I guess they're not really nail biting this season, but if they were any other team, they just would have no fingernails left. But if it's another win like that, you're going to be in the same spot as a Chiefs fan where you're like, okay, every week we get closer. We're going to be due for one. I get we have the guy, but it's just going to happen. Our number's going to be up. It's going to be one of those weeks. It's going to be like that story Dave Chappelle tells on the Big Sean album about the time he bombs in Detroit. It's just, his number was up. It was his time. In professional terms, that means he's due for not doing well on stage. The Chiefs, they're just not going to be due for a good game. But maybe it's one of those things. You can just not play a good game, and somehow the league is in a state where still Pat Mahomes could win a Super Bowl. But if they start driving here, and a hold call on the offensive line on Morris. Rousseau getting the holding on Morris. It is only going to bring it back to 2nd and 14. So that is a little thing, chat, where, it could be 2nd and 20. Could be one of those, real drive killers. 2nd and 14. That's a false start in a 2nd and 10. We're not doing too bad. And right away, Mahomes. Hopkins is not able to complete the catch, but Mahomes put it up for him to make a play. Hopkins is saying that it's a catch, that he, completed it all the way through the ground, but I mean, yeah, it definitely got, on the replay, definitely got broken up. It got jarred loose as soon as he made contact with turf. There's no way he's going to get this call. But they haven't really done the throw it up to Hopkins yet in this game. Of course, 4 minutes left in the third quarter. It's going to be near that time. So check down to Kelsey on 3rd and 14. Good tackling by the Bills, chat. They're going to get the stop. So it is turning into a little bit of a defensive battle here. I know that, again, maybe it looked even like it could be a little bit of an offensive battle in the second quarter with the way that these teams were moving the ball a little bit. But Mahomes is... Oh, what happened, chat? We got the wrong screen up, chat. Yes, these are the Niners stats. Shout out Kyle Shanahan. Oh, here we go. We're back. Chiefs punting. But the teams have been in more defensive matchups recently, than that offensive shootout that we saw in the playoffs. That historic 1 year. So it's like, oh, are we going to get back to that a little bit? The quarterbacks go toe-to-toe? Because we do miss that, chat, to be honest. Like, I don't mind indulging the football nerds for a little bit and watching some defensive football, watching some boring, low-scoring, no yardage, but the defensive line is dominating. If the football nerds say it's great football, I'll indulge them for a little bit. We're just degenerate sports fans. I'm down to watch football in any form. But if you could mix in a little, Mahomes, Allen magic, that 40-point game, just every once in a while. Because that's another reason why Manning and Brady, of course, was so fun, is you always had that. And it's not even to the high scoring. It's just some fourth quarter moments. This does feel like a fourth quarter moment game. Oh, and a big catch and run. Is that little Jordan Humphrey for the Broncos, chat? The Broncos with one of the more dominant performances of the year. Wow, so this might be like a hierarchy in the AFC, chat. They may be, this may be, I don't know they're playing themselves into playoff lock territory. I don't know if that's too strong. I don't know if we can lock in any team with a Bo Nix rookie quarterback, but with the defense and with the way Sean Payton has got things clicking right now, things are smooth. But again, with Caleb Williams, I think maybe there's been some eye test stuff, like we were saying, with some of the down the field throws where, if you put the tape and just go, well, if he's not going to make these passes, then yeah, maybe Bo Nix is, maybe there's a real case in a redraft situation that some of the stuff he brings to the table, you'd have to think about it. But again, I think some of the throws that Caleb Williams is making. Now, we'll have to go back in and, again, I'm really curious to see, without Waldron, him processing. We'll throw in the little all-22 chat. Want to see what he was doing with some of the reads, but I think he definitely played himself back into redraft, sort of solidifying his case. But right now, the Broncos are the 7th seed. I mean, the AFC is just stacked right now, chat. It's just what it is. Chiefs, Bills, Steelers, Texans, Ravens, Chargers, Broncos was the top 7 going into today. So Steelers and Ravens play each other. Ravens are only going to go to 7-4. They're still probably even wild card number 1. The Chargers would be, I guess if the Chargers win tonight, they'd be 7-3. So they would probably have a better winning percentage, right? Because less losses. I know it's uneven because of the buys and stuff, but Broncos moving to 6-5. Indy with the win today is now 5-6. So, the Bengals could be 5-6 if they beat the Chargers tonight, but still both of those teams would be one game behind the Broncos. And the Chargers, the AFC West, they could help out their division rivals tonight. Knocking out the Bengals. You get the Dolphins hanging feisty. Did they ultimately get the win against the Raiders? Let's see. Let's get a final score update on that one. That game was definitely low on the priority list. Yeah, dominant win for the Dolphins today, 34-19. Minshew, not necessarily on fire. 28 of 36 for 288. Remember when he was chucking the ball down the field, chat? Remember when this offense used to be explosive? Jonnu Smith, the leading receiver, almost outgaining Tyreek Hill and Waddle by himself. I don't know. That just wouldn't even. That felt like it wouldn't have happened. Even a couple years ago, but Indy with Anthony Richardson, of course, squeaking out the win today over the Jets. And I don't think even, if Cincinnati loses tonight, I don't think Indy with a win today put themselves in a different tier over Cincinnati. But, I mean, a Indy-Denver matchup. I mean, Anthony Richardson versus Bo Nix. We're going to say it's closer than you think. But that Denver defense and that Sean Payton game planning might be too hard to overcome. I don't think the Broncos are on the schedule at all, but just to double check. Did we see him on for the preseason? Is that what it was? Matching up. Yeah, it was the preseason. Week 1 in the preseason. Oh, no. Okay, chat. Week 15. Whoa, that's an early playoff game, chat. Week 15, Indy going to Denver. I guess Detroit next week is, shout out the champ, probably a loss. We'll just go ahead and start prepping ourselves for it now. But the Patriots in week 13, 1-1 in that stretch, we could be okay. So let's see what we've got for Denver here for the games leading up to Indy. Wow, chat. The Bo Nix Anthony Richardson eliminator game. Who would have thought? Are we going to have to do a watch party? Can the NFL give us the single game passes now? Hopefully they'll be instituting that within the next couple of weeks here. But Denver, their remaining schedule, of course, cruising to a win today versus Atlanta. Then Vegas, and then the Browns, and then the bye. So both teams are at a bye in Week 14, and then the Week 15 matchup. And then Denver goes Chargers, Bengals, Chiefs. So there could definitely be a little bit of a slide at the end, even if they get the win there and go up on the Colts. But wow, Week 15, Indy versus Denver. An early high stakes matchup because, Steelers versus Ravens today was, a high stakes playoff level type game, but not a playoff eliminator game. The Ravens, of course, now not in first place in the AFC North, but still very much, number one wildcard team and still very much top of the AFC power rankings, though. There is also just something about when a guy has a kryptonite, but also the kryptonite just continues to stay as kryptonite. Like, maybe at the end of the day, the only thing he does actually have to overcome, in the playoff situation is Mahomes. Like, there is, a very likely scenario where they don't play the Steelers. Let's actually see right now. Just in case that wouldn't actually be the playoff matchup right now. No, yeah, they'd play It'd be Baltimore versus Houston as the first round playoff matchup, and then the Steelers versus the Chargers. Wow, Baltimore, Houston. That's a crazy, crazy wild card matchup. Maybe on certain weeks, the second and third best quarterback in the AFC. Shout out to Josh Allen, of course. Probably over C.J. Stroud for what he's been doing this season and for what he's done for multiple seasons. But they could definitely have a path in the playoffs where they don't have to get through the Steelers, or even the fact that he has this sort of, kryptonite in the Steelers and that his, record not is very good. He doesn't seem to be able to get past his team. Like, in a playoff game, still, I feel like we'd probably lean Lamar. Again, I know Lamar has his playoff stuff. It would be the divisional team. Tomlin, we get all that, but you still probably have to lean Lamar at the end of the day. But it's like, can he overcome Mahomes and overcome, a big... Is this like... Are we really getting into sports takes here, Chad? I know we're said we're reformed, but can you overcome, like, your bigger kryptonite if you can't overcome your smaller kryptonite, chat? Because, I don't know, it's just, again, that mental sort... It's just that push-through ability. And he hasn't been able to push through versus the Steelers. He hasn't been able to push through versus Mahomes. And, week 1, he has the drive. He has the throw in the back of the end zone. It's basically right there. Likely doesn't get his foot down. It's 6 inches off, chat. But, it's still at the end of the day, like, it's a loss. The play didn't happen. In history, the amount of detail in the result gets lost, and throughout time, it just ends up becoming a loss. So, at least our confidence in him anyways, going into a matchup versus the Chiefs. And I know that doesn't mean really anything, for the Ravens team on the field, but for our wallets and for our pocketbooks, chat, we can still make money on this. There's still stuff at stake for us outside emotions. There's rent on the line. But just that confidence of, would we trust him to be like, yeah, this is the time that he can overcome Mahomes, if we still have this, other team where it's like he has this history with them, and that may even be a matchup where that's a more winnable matchup, and I still feel like, I go, ooh, I don't know. We haven't really seen him play his best football against that team. And he's probably played better against the Chiefs than he has against the Ravens or against the Steelers as well, too. Because even if you count some regular season games, like, they had that win against the Chiefs. Was that a Monday night or a Sunday night? In prime time, they had that shootout. So let's see his career stats here for those two teams. And it was the Steelers' first divisional game as well, too, which I don't know if it's better or worse that your divisional games are all stacked like this at the end of the season, but I mean, you get into hopefully a little bit of a rhythm and can kind of figure out what kind of team you are at that point. So, do they get to be the one team that's fully formed when they're playing like some of their most important opponents of the season? But on the other hand, it's like a lot of familiarity at the end of the year. But against Pittsburgh, chat, Lamar Jackson has a career passer rating. And, there's some early years mixed in here as well, too. I get maybe some career numbers are not the full scope for Lamar, but 66.8 career passer rating, 4 touchdowns in 7 interceptions. And then against the Chiefs, he has an 81.9 career passer rating, 5 touchdowns to 2 picks. He's 1-4 versus Kansas City in the regular season versus 2-4 versus Baltimore in the regular season as well. I believe, looking at it, those are the only 2 teams that he has a losing record to as well in the regular season are Kansas City and Baltimore. Yeah, so I know there's a couple other teams if we're looking at the quarterback ratings. He's had some one-off games against some teams where, maybe he didn't necessarily put up like killer stats. Against Buffalo, 3-1, a 92 QB rating, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Of course, Lamar. There's the run game as well, too. 51 yards per game versus the Bills on the ground. So he is 85 yards per game on the ground versus Kansas City, and he is only 43 yards on the ground versus Pittsburgh. So, and that is true. Like, you could eye test it, go, Pittsburgh does seem to contain Lamar. Probably about as good as any team in the league. Obviously, the defensive line is about as capable as any defensive line in the league for doing that. But Buffalo drives down the field. They put up points on the board. So they were up by 2. So now they're up by 9. So again, the Big T's, barely the 2-score lead at 9 points, but they are sitting now at 2-point leads. Mahomes is going to need a drive here with 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Okay, now Mahomes actually has to play. It's the fourth quarter. There's stakes on the board. Now we can tune into the Chiefs, chat. Now they're interesting. We know the fourth quarter. There's going to be some drama. And Josh Allen he's delivered his drive in the fourth quarter. Obviously, he'll get, other chances to go either way. But he's 1 for 1 to start it off so far. And Jennings is just tearing up the Niners, or the Seahawks right now for the Niners. I think the Broncos also just got a turnover. And Sean Payton, relentless, chat. He's still driving the ball down the field. They're at their own 4-yard line. So they're going to need to get some room here regardless of what happens. But with 4 minutes left, can they go for 40? Only other team, chat, that would have had a better offensive game would be the Lions. The team that might be the best team in the league. The best offense in the league. And now their third game, chat, of like 47 or more points. Second game of over 50 points. And they had like a 42-pointer in there as well. But I was looking at like, okay, what does that mean for like the really, really elite offenses if a team has had this many points where, they're up near 50 points in the performances? Is that, do we see that? Does that just mean like this is like a really all-time great team? But you go through and look at the teams, and it's like all the great offenses that just came up short. It's like the 13 Broncos, the 07 Patriots. And you're just like, wait a second, I don't know if this all correlates exactly how you want it. But again, those were historic teams, and ultimately there were versions of those teams that did end up winning something. Now, like for those 2 teams specifically, the Broncos didn't necessarily win with an offensive team, the no-fly zone, Manning in a different phase of his career. And then I guess technically for the Patriots, that 07 unit, there wasn't really a version of that won a Super Bowl. You know, Edelman sort of gets in on the tail end of that run and then kind of sticks around a little bit through the end and then kind of emerges, you know, in the next group of the Patriots. But it's kind of a whole new team by the time they win their next group of Super Bowls. So maybe from a history standpoint, the Lions are, you know, looking at like, oh, I don't know if we want to match these offenses in that sense. But their defense as well, too, I think, in the scope of the league, is maybe a little better than some of those other teams' defenses were at the time. But, of course, you know, that Patriots team, anytime you're matching statistical performance with them, you're not going to count them as losing the Super Bowl for, you know, that's not one of those teams that's like, oh, is this a fake team? Like, obviously, they lost that game, and it turned out that game was the Super Bowl. So if you're on par with them, you're absolutely where you want to be. But, you know, there's a lot of those teams in there where you're like, and, you know, not just like 2, but it was like I was trying to look at like the 3 and 4, the real, you know, oh, yeah, they're really doing this multiple times in the season. It's just like anytime the Lions are playing a bad team, chat, or a team, you know, struggling team in the league, they're just going to have these absolute smackdown performances. And, of course, that's been the problem with the Chiefs, is if you're going to be a great team, you're going to showcase your greatness, you know, every week it's going to be against the teams that are not on your level. You're going to be great and dominate them. And against the teams that maybe are on your level, you're going to make great plays and you're going to have great wins and great moments in those games as well, too. But, you know, playing down to the competition a little bit, but not Detroit, chat. Detroit is definitely the, you know, the most teed up team right now in the league. The most aggressive team. They're going for it. Buffalo with almost 300 yards of total offense. The Chiefs were at about 186 before that play, but I think Kareem Hunt just broke the 200-yard mark, total yardage for the offense for the day with that run. Getting it into Bills territory. And like we said, the Chiefs needing a drive. And down 9, I mean, they put the field goal kicker to the test in this game? They haven't kicked a field goal yet. The extra points, no problem. They've been easy. The first one, he kicked it like a little too high for the extra point. It was like, okay, you're, you know, definitely proving a point. But the Broncos are in, you know, they're in turn the TV off territory, chat. They're in get them off the screen territory, chat. That game's over. Seahawks Niners in a shootout. The Bills trying to upset the Chiefs. I mean, come on, Josh Allen. We need it. We need this Chiefs undefeated streak to be over. We need him to join the rest of the league. Hopkins sliding for the first down off the slant. Maybe that's his first official catch of the day. Of course, the other one called back by penalty a little bit ago. He's 3 for 29 so far. Worthy 4 for 61. Allen is 23 of 34 completions. Shakir getting a lot of the work. But Shakir, Cooper, and Samuel are all over 55 yards right now. So like we were saying, good balance there for that Bills receiving core. Cooper, I mean, is that just as good of an addition as DeAndre Hopkins? I know maybe peak Hopkins, maybe even the versions of them now. Like they've sort, whatever you thought of them at their peak, they sort of maybe have aged the same way and there's still kind of the same separation between them. But I mean, Cooper is what, you know, at his peak, what you needed from an elite one receiver and could still be like a very capable down-to-down guy, give you big plays, reliable in third downs. Okay, as the field shortens, the Chiefs running it on first down. We'll see. Will they let Mahomes make a play here, chat? Also, Purdy playing with the lead a little bit, so maybe the Niners are going to kind of start to get a little separation here, a little sigh of relief in the fourth quarter. If they can get a stop here on this third down. I guess there's 2 minutes left. It would be nice, but Smith and Jigba moves it. Okay, chat. We're not. This game was a little on the early start than the Chiefs game, so we're ahead on that one. 2 minutes left. They're going to go to the 2-minute warning real quick for that one. Okay, can Geno, chat, pull the upset off over the Niners? Can he do the last second drive? Okay, we've got the Chiefs in 1st and goal. At the 5, chat. In the Andy Reid wishbone. Oh, Mahomes overthrows Hopkins, but it's going to be a flag. It's going to be a flag. We've seen the targets for Hopkins ramp up here in the second half. And maybe seeing that pass interference, because I feel like that's another thing that hasn't happened a ton yet with him there. Of course, only for a limited number of games, but that penalty yardage, that extra yardage, just getting it in his direction, throwing passes in his direction, putting defenders in tough spots. So now they're at the 1, chat. This is going to be a run. Yes, it is. Kareem Hunt. It's not even a pile, and he tries to dive over. I don't know what Kareem Hunt just did there. Most of the time when the player goes for the dive at the goal line, it's like that scrum setting where everybody's down low. There's a real battle at the line of scrimmage, but this was almost like just a normal run blocking line protection setup. And he just ran to the nearest offensive lineman, tried to jump over him. Okay, they said Mahomes is going to have to take care of it now. Oh, Noah Gray turns away from the defender, and Mahomes sees him before he gets out of bounds. So there's the touchdown, chat. The extra point here, 2 points. They're at 23, right, chat? So 2 points doesn't tie it up. Okay, Broncos-Falcons goes final. Sean Payton getting the boys back on track with the 32-point win over the Atlanta Falcons. A dominant performance by Bo Nix. Bo Nix, the MVP of the day. Who would have guessed? And the run game's effectiveness as well, too, in the short yardage situation, like we were saying, around the goal line. Continuing to punch the ball in. Javonte Williams was 9 for 59 tonight. McLaughlin 4 for 19, so they didn't even have to carry the ball that much. Estime? He was only 6 for 16, but 6-16 in Denver for Estime. Bijan slowed down tonight with the old 12 for 35, 4 for 28 in the receiving category as well. Kirk Cousins not helping us out in fantasy, chat. We may be looking to add Anthony Richardson back. We were looking good going into the day. Or going into tonight here. Okay, we're still looking good. Kirk Cousins with a 5-pointer, and we're playing Mahomes. Mahomes is at 20, so we're getting killed in that matchup right now. But I think we're gonna be going into tonight basically tied, maybe down a little bit, depending on what happens with Mahomes here. And we're gonna have Dobbins and Chase Brown versus Jamar Chase. Oh, and Nico Collins is back. Yep, playing tomorrow night. Okay. Nico Collins, Chase Brown, and J.K. Dobbins versus Jamar Chase. Potentially after tonight happens here. So I am only up by 1 right now. The win percentage is looking pretty good, though. This is kind of a sneaky playoff matchup in our fantasy here. A couple of 500 teams trying to kind of maintain that playoff position. And Looking to, I will probably just end up flipping spots in the rankings, 5 seed versus a 6 seed. But regardless, we'll take the 1 spot climb. If that's all that Dana White will give us, we'll move 1 spot up in the rankings. No worries. So this Niners Seahawks game is about to wrap up here, chat, and then we'll be able to go last couple of minutes. Pause on the Bills Chiefs game. Geno scrambling for extra yardage. There's 39 seconds. Where are they at right now? Near the 30? Near the 25? Down by 4, so they need a touchdown. Will this be JSN territory, people? Can we bet a JSN anytime tutty right now? I don't know why, but I'm feeling JSN. Pause! I'm getting vibes that if they're going to score, it may be our boy Jackson Smith. No open touchdown props, chat. Whoa, the Niners plus 4,000 on the money line? For what, chat? They're not going to get a stop here? I don't understand this, chat. Can I log in quick enough? Oh, I wasn't logged in, chat. I messed up. How was I not logged in? The face recognition doesn't pick up. Chat. How is this not working, chat? Oh, because I have the camera on. And I've used up the amount of attempts, chat. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. Geno just scored, so it's FanDuel has the FanDuel login saved us, chat. The Niners defense incapable of getting a stop. We trusted them. We shouldn't have. The bets we want to place, for once the bets we want to place, they don't hit. Usually they do. This time, we actually getting lucky. The Chiefs, though, I mean, Mahomes did the 13-second comeback. Can Brock Purdy do the 12-second? Miracle in San Francisco. Seattle, have they had a finish that's made up karmic-wise for the Green Bay game? That Monday night game with the pass interference at the end? I feel like they haven't had a crazy, wait a second, what just happened? We're kind of stunned finish. I guess the Super Bowl, but we're talking, and I feel like, what was the order in that, chat? Which one came first? I feel like that Green Bay game did happen maybe before the Patriots Super Bowl. But for regular season purposes, they need an ending to make up for that one. We'll see if Brock Purdy's able to do the Jaden Daniels. Get the miracle score at the end of the game. Oh, Josh Allen misses the tight end running down the field. That would have put him in the red zone, chat. It's going to be 2nd and 10. But he had him open and underthrew him on the run. Brian Cook running after him in coverage. You see that on film a lot, chat. A lot of Brian Cook going, oh, wait, that's my guy. Okay, a long yardage 2nd down. Only 80 pass yards so far for Allen in the first half compared to what he did in the second half. They just showed the graphic. Oh, barely. Oh, they don't get the snap off, chat. And what could have been 1st and 10 in the red zone is now 2nd and 15. Oh, did they get the timeout? Okay, they got the timeout, chat. So Brock Purdy, and with the new kickoffs, they get the ball at the 30. They only need a field goal. They have 1 timeout. Oh, I don't know if they were going for the trick play, chat, but they threw it underneath to Deebo Samuel, and he got tackled right away. A meaningless 2-yard gain. They're gonna have to burn their timeout and then try to go for the Hail Mary, chat. They should have just played like a normal intermediate throw. I don't know if they were going hook and ladder, but there was no guy underneath for him to lateral to. They weren't setting that up. I think they were just trying to set up sort of an underneath screen, get the receivers blocking downfield right as Deebo Samuel catches it. But they missed their assignments, chat. The Seahawks get the clutch stop. And now the Niners have to go 70 yards in 7 seconds. Purdy is pressured. He gets it off underneath. It's not going to be enough time. We're getting a chaos. Oh. We almost got a chaotic lateral sequence, but the Seahawks intercept it. Shut it down. It's a no-go, chat. And the Seahawks get the win. So the Niners are just a 500 team. The Niners are just average this year. I guess that's just how it goes in the NFL. Sometimes you have Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk. Even their second-tier guys. You know, Charvarius Ward, you know, but even like Lenore, Jennings, Mason was a good running back when he played. All these guys, chat, somehow they're a 500 team. The defense, you know, it had moments last year where you were like, are they going to get a stop actually when it matters in the regular season? And then, of course, it comes back around. They clutch up when they need to a couple of times. But at 5-5, chat, things are looking mighty fine for the Arizona Cardinals in the NFC West, who the biggest winners in the NFC West today because they're on bye. So now they have the tiebreaker. And the Niners weren't able to make up a game on them. I mean, fantastic. If you're Jonathan Gannon. And the Niners were already sitting out. The NFC playoff picture. The Niners are now 5-5, and the Commanders are 7-4 after this week. Eagles 8-2 after their Thursday game. So Atlanta moves to 6-5. Green Bay moves to 7-3. And Minnesota moves to 8-2, chat. Unfortunately, Detroit is moving to 9-1. So Minnesota is going to have to stay the 5 seed. But they are now 8-2 on the season. So, I mean, San Francisco's probably not going to catch Minnesota. I mean, they're now solidly 2 games behind all these teams. They kind of had to have this one, chat. They kind of had to have this one. The Bears now at 4-6. Seahawks at 5-5 as well. I mean, they're going to be behind the Seahawks until they replay. Or I guess they played earlier. Did they get the win earlier in the season? So, because I think Purdy played pretty well in that game, if I remember correct. Yeah, 36-24. They won in Seattle in week 6. So they've got Green Bay, Buffalo, Chicago, the Rams, Dolphins, Lions, and Cardinals. I mean, not the easiest stretch of games. Definitely playoff teams and playoff teams-ish down the stretch. But that last spot in the AFC is definitely more up for grabs than we're looking at in the NFC right now. Of course, they could go on a run. They are the Niners, but a brutal playoff loss for the old boys out in the Bay. And here we go. Last 4 matchups for Chiefs. Chiefs, Bills, all decided by 1 score. This one looking about the same, chat. Looking about the same. Three minutes left, chat. It's 2nd and 6. At the 30. Josh Allen keeps it himself, so it's going to be 3rd down, chat. If they get a field goal, it's going to go to 5. I mean, if you're a Bills fan, you don't want to be up 5 with, 2.5 minutes left against Kansas City. Kansas City, all 3 timeouts. I mean, that smells like an absolute Bills loss to the Chiefs. But a touchdown here would essentially win the game. It would go back up 9. They would, because if you need an onside kick at the end of the game, chat, the game is basically over. Which I don't know why you wouldn't want the onside kicks to be good as well, too. Like, that's the thing about the onside kicks that doesn't make sense, is they seem okay with it not being effective in the game. Like, if it's basically going to be neutral, if it's effective is going to be neutralized, just outlaw it and come up with a different idea, or, go workshop it back the other way and find out a way to make it a whole lot easier. But if it's just this meaningless thing that a team can try to go through to try to get the ball back, I mean, what's the point? And there should be something as well too, where there should be a make it take it element available. I don't think that's too crazy. I guess in like the NBA, but if you get a foul, I mean, fouls can result in turnovers, so there is a difference there, where you can just lose a possession based on an offensive foul, where, offensive foul in the NFL, you're going backwards, you're still keeping the ball, but it's a lot harder to, continue the drive at that point. So, maybe not every sport has a perfect parallel to the onside kick, but I think for football, it makes sense to have an option at the end of the game for a team to try to keep their hopes alive and to keep people entertained. It does make sense. If we're down by, in that 14-point-ish range, you should want people to still keep their TVs on, and you still should want the end of the games to be interesting for the fans. But, I mean, the NFL, it might just be so dominant at this point. And it just, I know everybody's like, well, people just watch their phones now and don't even watch the TVs, but I guess at the end of the day, you kind of just need it on in the background. I mean, I guess you do need people watching, because at the end of the day, you do need people to shop the ads for it all to end up working. But, if it's just on, that's the ratings, the numbers, it's going to kind of end up working itself out. And I feel like with most people on their phones, you can kind of get stuck in watching a thing. So, like, football's not on. I feel like the amount of channel surfing I would do, I still will be like an old school guy if I'm like on Sling or something. If there's a commercial sometimes on a Monday Night Football game. And now, like, NBA is just like, NBA season, you're going to flip over to that. But in those couple weeks there before NBA starts up, and it's just kind of like NFL's on, maybe we're not just going to flip over and watch baseball. Is there a movie? Like, let's surf around and see what's on real quick. The other channels just for the fun of it. But now it's like, if you're on your phone, that's where you're doing the surfing. So you're just leaving it on for the NFL. So maybe the modern stuff like the NFL doesn't even have to worry about keeping people entertained at the end of the games, because these games are just all staying on the whole time. It's just, I'm throwing on Peacock, I'm watching this event. And that is kind of this thing too with the streaming, is there is no like surfing element in the live sports with the streaming like that, where you're going to be tempted to move away and jump over to different events and do that stuff. You're just, if you're watching Sunday night on Peacock, that's the broadcast. And again, you got it on. If it gets to a point where the game is not watchable, you're going to go move around and do some other stuff. I don't know. Maybe are you guys productive, chat? Do you do things if the game's a blowout? No, of course, Sunday night. It could just be movie time afterwards, of course. But make the onside kicks fun, chat. Anyways, big drive by the Bills. We should keep paying attention to the game. It's 4th and 2. They're going for it, chat. I mean, they're not. They don't want to go up 5. They know. Like we said, that smells like a loss. Allen making a play with his legs, getting all the way to the end zone. A monstrous play by the Bills. Like we said, going up 2 scores almost not quite guaranteed that the Chiefs would need an onside kick, but it's pretty close to that kind of situation. Virtually sealing the game with the rushing touchdown, Josh Allen. But if you're a Bills fan, I mean, you know what goes on with these games, so you're happy, you're not, celebrating. But this is great. Did he score too soon? Should he have gone down at the 1? Taking it to the 2-minute warning. The Chiefs did use a timeout already, though. They'll have the 2-minute warning. 2 timeouts. There's 2:17 left. And they need 9 points. So maybe the NFL after this game will institute a 3-point conversion instead of changing the onside rules. But Josh Allen may continue his regular season dominance versus the Chiefs. 4-1 versus Mahomes. Mahomes, is he washed? Is this it, chat? Will the Chiefs win streak end tonight? Is tonight the night the 72 Dolphins will be gathering? Do they just sit around and wait for a game after it ends? Are they just all in the same city already? How much planning has to go into the hang after a team loses before they all actually show up and get together? I guess, do they just get all the handlers together now and schedule a time? Is there just a 72? Maybe there's just a home. There's a 72 Dolphins home. They're all there. And then when somebody loses, you just wheel them all out into the lobby, take a picture, wheel them back. Shout out the 72 Dolphins. The last team that knew how to finish football games. The last undefeated team in NFL history. Looking like it's going to continue after tonight's game, after the Chiefs go down. The NFL they're giving the Chiefs the Panthers the next week, though. So they're making sure to give them a rest week after playing Josh Allen and in the Bills. But is this the Panthers off a bye, chat? Bryce Young with the week to prepare? Is this a fair schedule for Chiefs fans? Okay, P. Ryan on the check down is going to move. I think it's going to go to the 2-minute warning, though. They're only going to get the 1 playoff before. Oh, they don't get a second off, chat. I didn't know if the league would let him get a second one in there, but the clock stops at 2 minutes. The Chiefs down 9. So, speaking of that slate of NBA games, Cavs right now, not messing around with Charlotte. Sam, like you said, is officially the team of the year for him now. So, does Charlotte now have nothing to play for? I think, they were in competition with the Hawks there a little bit, and I think they were playing extra hard as of late. Pause, because Sam hadn't quite made an official announcement yet. But now that it's official, now that they've finally won the role, maybe they've taken the foot off the gas for a second. LaMelo tonight, 2 for 9 for 3-pointers. Yeah, you think, LaMelo, Sam just backed you and just put his vote of confidence in your team. Do we have to pause that? Sam just backed you? That might be crazy, but put his vote of confidence in your team, picked you as his team of the year, and you're going to go out there and shoot 2 for 9 the following game? Unacceptable, LaMelo. You hate to see it. Brandon Miller, 10 points. 2 for 8 from the 3-point line. The future of Charlotte is not shooting the ball great as of right now. The Grizzlies, though, taking down the Nuggets a little bit right now. I guess there was no Jokic tonight, right? Jokic has been out for personal reasons. Do we know what happened, chat? Does Jokic have to go complete a hit real quick? What is that from John Wick? Does he have what's the blood token things in John Wick? Does he have a promise that he has to fulfill? A blood promise? Somebody finally cashed in their token on Jokic, so he's got to take a couple of games off. Go complete a task. Jokic is definitely part of the Continental. It just hasn't been confirmed yet, but he is not out there for Denver as of right now. Porter is making sure to take up the shots in his absence, but he's 0 for 4 from 3. No Ja, but Jaren Jackson with 7 points as of right now. Jalen Wells, he's been getting a lot of minutes, and he's been a little up and down with the shooting. And there was a game that we were watching, a week or two ago where he had a stretch where it was like a turnover on a bad pass, followed by an offensive foul, followed by missing the rotation and leading up to a basket, followed by, like, right after missing the rotation, getting the inbound and throwing the inbound and turning it over. And it was just like this crazy sequence where it was like, what happened to these amazing young talented rookies that the Grizzlies had? And who's this guy that they're just like leaving out there and seeing, what do they see in Jalen Wells that I haven't seen enough to pick up on yet? But he did come back a couple other games as well, too, and had some really, really nice scoring performances and some big nights. So I can see why they're trying to develop him as a talent. But I just remember watching that stretch where it was like missing the rotation on defense and then turning over the inbound and immediately getting subbed out. And it was like, oh, man. Would hate to be just be a tough stretch if you were in the NBA. And you were like, because, even like 2K in those early career years when your guy will go out there with like a 60 overall base and you still are somehow able to put up like 12 straight points. And then it's like, no, wait, you're on this early minutes thing. You're going to get subbed out for the rest of the fourth quarter. And then the team loses. And, you were carrying the team and they were winning the game while you were in there. And you're like, why can't we just skip to the part where the team trusts me and I play all the minutes and I'm in there right away? But even getting subbed out in those moments in a video game when you're playing well is not fun. And, you can sim the rest of the game too. You don't have to sit there and watch the other guys play. So getting subbed out for, making 3 or 4 not great calls and then having to sit there and watch the other guys perform would not be the most fun time. But up 20 on the Nuggets. And the Chiefs facing a 4th and 3. Justin Watson not able to... Oh, he is able to haul in the pass. An incredible catch. I was about to say, you usually see Justin Watson. I feel like he doesn't drop anything. And continues the streak. Bobbles this one around a little bit, but... Oh, no, chat. I think that might have touched the ground. I think the ball dropped, chat. I think it slipped through. So is it going to be... I mean, they're still going to have to go for it on 4th down anyways, but 4th and 3, you can get a play and get out of bounds. Keep it moving. So the league is going to do him a favor and not initiate the review. You love to see it if you're a Chiefs fan. On the 48, Mahomes pressured. Mahomes running. Mahomes trying to imitate Josh Allen by taking the ball almost into the red zone. Oh, is it coming back, chat? Penalty on the Chiefs. Another hold. Offense, is it Morris again? It's Taylor on the other side. I mean, the league might be scripted, chat. If there was a player to make a play at the end of the games where the Chiefs fans would love to just complain about his performance, it would be Jawan Taylor. The league's just like, okay, you're going to go on the road in Buffalo in week 9, and you're going to lose that game because Jawan Taylor gets a penalty in the 4th quarter. And you're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. We'll take that. 9-1. Checks out. The Jawan Taylor penalty. That season makes sense so far. Wait a second. What happened in the week before with the Broncos? But the rest of that, I think, if you told the Chiefs fan, it would all make sense. So 4th and 13. I think it goes to Kelsey, and I think he doesn't get it. Let's see what happens here, chat. Mahomes running again. Looking downfield. Intercepted, chat. It was to Kelsey. And it's Mahomes again versus the Bills with another interception. A script we've seen before. Kelsey with the sarcastic clap to the Bills fans. Mahomes' second pick of the day. He's been looking good as of late. The numbers have cleaned up a little bit. But today, he reverts back to early season form with a couple of turnovers. And Benford definitely, makes a good play running back up the field on the ball. But, I know it's Mahomes and he's an exception to all the rule. And at this point, he's allowed to do whatever he wants on the court. But the throwing across your body back into the middle of the field, there's a reason why Mahomes is an exception to the rule. Just threw a pick. The rule is, you're going to throw a pick if that happens. So maybe not the smartest decision. Again, something that you're okay with him doing. But 9-1, chat. It finally happened. It was about time for Chiefs fans to spend an NFL Sunday like the rest of us in defeat. Like, you get to a point where the defeat becomes like the close win, where you get that Broncos win and you're like, oh, this is ridiculous. How do we win a game on this last second play, on this like fluky play? This is unacceptable. And it's like, you're still winning these games on these crazy plays. Like, what is happening? Your team has got the most fortunate karma / refs of all time. But an actual loss, getting defeated. And again, I guess this one is a 2-possession game. So this will be there now. Another 2-possession loss since that Broncos matchup, like we were saying, from last season. But just on the borderline. The Broncos more dominant last season than the Bills this season. But Allen as well, too, really helping his MVP case today, because Lamar has definitely been the favorite there. And, I don't know what it is about Lamar in awards, but he is starting to develop a little like Kendrick-y sort of vibe with the MVP people, where, if Lamar just has a good season, then Lamar is just going to win the MVP. And that is also a product of, there's a reason why that is. It's because Lamar is capable of so much on the football field, and he's responsible for so much of the offense, and he's able to pull it off at such a high level. It's like, well, there's a reason that Lamar is Kendrick is like this. It's every project he has. There's almost no, there's virtually no skips on these albums, and not just no skips. We're talking about classic albums of all time and greatest songs of all time, and there's a reason why he deserves the awards. It's it's not fake love, but Allen I don't think has been too far off, but he did also go head to head to Lamar, and Lamar definitely Derrick Henry anyways had a big day that day, but the Ravens and by default Lamar had the storyline advantage there. But they're now 9-2, chat. So the Bills just in general being at 9-2 versus the Ravens at 7-3 is, I think, I wouldn't say like shocking for the Bills, because again, I think we thought the Bills would be a good team, but I think if record's a big part of the MVP anyways, that's a huge part of the case to check off for Josh Allen just right away after this week. No, I guess he did have the one interception, right? Yeah, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, but also the 1 touchdown on the ground as well, too, in Josh Allen fashion. I guess, 40 attempts, 262 yards tonight. Again, a lot of short stuff, but Coleman is, a down-the-field receiver as well. I think he's a versatile receiver that can do a lot, but I think he definitely opens up some of the stuff on their offense. Cooper, he's not like a burner. He's not getting down the field. He's more possession guy. Same with Shakur. You're working underneath to Knox, the tight end. You're checking it down to James Cook. So makes sense. And, you want to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands as well, too. So makes sense to control the ball, keep things short, work your way down the field. Take your times on drives. Mahomes didn't even get to 200 yards tonight. Less than 200 yards and 2 picks. Not a common stat line you see from Mahomes, but definitely more in line with what he's been doing this year than, some of the stats that we've seen from in the past. But shout out to Buffalo. If there was going to be a team and a quarterback to do it, we knew it would be this team. And this is these old school Manning Brady vibes, chat, where, we could see this from back in the day. It'd be like, one way or the other. Manning undefeated, Brady undefeated. Even if the team, I feel like those teams, again, maybe were playing a little bit better than this Chiefs team if they were undefeated in whatever seasons those would be. But, one of those teams undefeated coming into town, it's like, oh, they're back on pace to be on top again. But the rival, they're playing well, playing maybe better than expected. There's always a chance that they can take down their, enemy opponent. And, of course, they do. I mean, the Chiefs and the Colts and Patriots had matchups where they were both undefeated. And it was like, well, somebody's going to break their streak now at this point regardless. But the Bills enter the first loss into the column for the Kansas City Chiefs. Chat. We just need a quick timeout before we get to the rest of this NBA coverage. And make no mistake, NFL games too. Anthony Richardson was back this week, people, and I'm excited. We got the win. And I'll be excited for a second. Chat. We're switching again. What's happening here? IT, what's going on? What buttons are the boys pushing? Is Lee Sayat back there falling asleep? What's happening? Okay, I think we'll be good to go in a couple seconds here. Give us on the other side of this break, chat. We'll be talking about Anthony Richardson and the return. Okay, we're back, chat. NBA in action, Sunday night, quickly approaching. We will take you guys up until the start of the Sunday night game as it approaches. Which NBA game will we jump in on here? We've got a couple of, like we said, that Grizzlies Nuggets is not looking good. Pistons versus the Wizards, not looking good as well either. Poole has 22 tonight. Cade has 19, 5, and 7. The Hornets are coming back. Pause on the Cavs a little bit. Okay, we got to do it, chat. We'll check out our Hornets. The Hawks versus Sam's Hornets. I'm a Spurs fan. Sam's Hornets. I didn't say ours. They're Sam's. I'm not. Don't check my phone. There's no text messages to the Charlotte Hornets. There's no messages sent. There's been no communication. There's no reason that our location has been turned off. We have not been hanging out with the Charlotte Hornets. The Spurs aren't playing tonight. So what do they expect us to do? There's no other games to watch. If they're not going to give us a game, we'll have to get a game from the Hornets. They've closed it within double digits. The Cavs trying to, having a historic start to the season, become, I believe, the 4th team I was seeing to start 15-0, but I don't know who the other 2 teams are, because I guess the 4th team would be 3 teams. And we know that Warriors team with Steph, that 73-9 team, was the best start to any 3. Was that 24, 25, 26? Mid-20s in a row? But the other couple of teams, I don't really know who those teams were. And again, that Warriors team is like that Patriots team where I think just because they didn't win the title doesn't mean that I think we can start using that team statistically. Not saying that people are. I haven't really heard anything about it, but I don't think we could use that team to compare and be like, oh, well, just because the 15-16 Warriors didn't win the title, maybe this Cavs team, we don't have to take it as seriously as another team in the East. Maybe they're still not quite a tier 1 team or whatever. It's like, no, I mean, that Warriors team was, arguably one of the greatest regular season teams of all time that we've ever seen. That Steph season is one of the great individual seasons of all time as well. And they were in the finals in a Game 7 and probably, in until basically Kyrie hits the last second shot as well. Should have definitely won it. Lost to a guy who you maybe consider the greatest basketball player of all time. I mean, there's factors why they lost that title. It's not just like, they completely choked it away. It's as much the greatness of LeBron as it is, the Warriors on that sense. But the other best season starts would be, okay, Dallas in 02-03 started 14-0. Of course, the Spurs ended up, I think, winning the finals that year. The Celtics in 57-58, I assume they won the title in the 50s. They started 14-0. The Capitals in the 48-49 BBA season? What is this website giving us for these best starts? Maybe they should have a better cutoff date. But shout out the 48-49 Washington Capitals from the BBA. Is that like the basketball? I think it's the Basketball Association of America. Something like that. Who knows, chat? That seems like a pretty educated guess. I feel like we've read that in a book at some point. The BBA. The BBA Drizzy League. They became the first team to achieve 20 consecutive regular season wins. And also the first to start a season with at least 10 consecutive victories. So they start 20-0. The Red Auerbach team went 38-22. Okay, so maybe they started 10-0. I don't know. They just felt like the need to throw that one in there for some reason. But at 15-0, we've got... Oh, chat. Sorry, chat. The camera's down. I think we're still recording, though. We'll reconnect here in a sec. It's loading. But I think you can still hear us. Sorry, chat. Let me see. Maybe I think actually did our internet get switched over to the wrong thing? Okay, well, we'll see what happens. In the meantime, while the video loads, chat, the Rockets were one of the 15-0 team. The Hakeem Olajuwon Rockets at the 93-94 season. And then the Warriors, of course, started... What was the record to start the season there? 24-0, yeah. To start the season. So were the BBA, the BBL Capitals the only other team to start at least 15-0? And then a couple of these other teams, yeah, at 14-0. So the Mavs were one of those teams. Like Dirk was one of those guys. I mean, there was a reason why there was some storylines around him as a player was because, you know, he had some historic numbers. His team was doing some stuff in the regular season, and they weren't following through in the playoffs. Dean Wade, I just thought he was Chandler Parsons there for a second. I got major flashbacks. The Cavs showing out in the City Edition jerseys. So, yeah, up by 8 points. And now up by 11. As Niang hits the three. He's been an important floor spacer for him. But Saloon getting some big minutes with LaMelo at the point. Cody Martin. LaMelo, back-to-back threes. He gets one to go. You love to see him hit the second one because he took the first one off the dribble and then offensive rebound. Took the second one up right away when they passed it back to him. But he must have known. I got it dialed in. And they trusted him. Oh, sorry, chat. We just lost the video feed again here. I know it didn't reload back up, but we'll get it back here. Are we there? Oh, there. Okay. Welcome back, chat. But getting it to go, keeping the teammates confident in his ability. Jarrett Allen getting to the line. Let's take a look at what Cade has been up to recently. I don't remember exactly how much time was left in that game. Let's see here. Is he on triple-double watch? Is there enough time? 90 seconds left in the third. 21, 7, and 7? I mean, he's definitely in great game watch, but I think he's also entered triple-double watch as well, too. Cade, of course, we know he can be one of those 25, 7, and 7, 7 and 6 type guys. But shooting efficiently tonight, too, as well. 7 for 11 from the field. So let's see what we've got going for his recent stretch. And Tobias Harris is not even playing well tonight. It is the Wizards. But when he's playing well, you get Duren out there. Ivy. Ivy's having an underrated good season, too. Ivy hasn't fully, from efficiency standpoint, you still, wouldn't quite call him a three-point shooter necessarily and, super efficient, but he definitely is still improved from this year to last year. And you see that duo getting a little bit better as a team. He was 15 for 2 for 9 in the last game. We always get him right after a stinker, chat. But he was balling out right before that. With some big performances. No Thompson twin tonight. Which is unfortunate. And I just saw that they claimed Paul Reed off of waivers. Chat, what was Paul Reed doing on waivers? What is the league doing? We actually need an expansion team. If Paul Reed is on / was on waivers, it's officially time to expand the league. The league's not big enough. Not enough. Too much talent to go around, chat. Not enough teams. Not enough roster spots. So Cade on the year, 23, 7, and 8.5 assists. 44% from the field, 35.9% from 3. I feel like Ivy might be shooting better this year from overall than Cade. Maybe in straight up both field goal and 3-point. Let's look at Ivy's numbers quick. Because there would be, that would be an interesting one, of course, going back to the draft. Be like, how would these guys mesh? I think the upside of these guys together, there's definitely something there. They're both so talented, but Ivy is at 18, 4, and 4. And he is at 44.6 and 34.4. They're basically shooting the same, chat, which, I mean, it's maybe encouraging and discouraging both ways. Because Cade was still 40%, I think, in college. I don't know. I think Cade's shooting was, I think, maybe a little more labeled as automatic than it has been in the league. Yeah, he's 34% his career right now in the 3 seasons. And in, or no, sorry, that's Ivy. We're still on Ivy. Again, the numbers are all the same right now. We don't know the difference. Let's go back to Cade real quick. Cade for his career, 33%. Ivy, a better career three-point shooter than Cade. Cade, his first couple of years at 31 and 28% is brutal. But in college, our guy was not there long. Make no mistake. He was only at Oklahoma State for the 1 season. But he was, 40% from the 3, but 43% from the field. Room for improvement. And the Hornets can't close the gap. Pause. Martin stepping on the sideline. I think the Cavs are going to be in good shape. And when is the Cavs-Celtics matchup? I know that's on the horizon. A showdown of a couple unbeatens. Ooh, chat. Stay tuned. Subscribe. The Rem and Sam pod on YouTube. Because Tuesday night, the undefeated Celtics will be going into the Boston Garden for an NBA Cup matchup with the Celtics. And that would be their potential. So that would be their potential 16-0 game right there. That would be to match or to break past the Rockets, be the second best team behind that Warriors team. And the Rockets won the title. The Warriors went to the title. So if they beat the Celtics, chat, and go undefeated, assuming they close out here in the fourth quarter, that would basically mean that the Cavs are going to win the title. And the Spurs Thunder next, chat. Are we going to pull an all-nighter? Cancel all of our plans, chat. The NBA Cup may take the priority on Tuesday. Wow. They got us hooked, chat. They've scripted an unbeaten Cavs team in Wemby versus, unfortunately, no Chet. RIP. Chet out for a little bit with the injury. But Shea, Wemby, Chris Paul, Steven Castle, putting his development to the test. Whoa, Jaden Ivey's Instagram handle is Poison Ivy? Is that good or bad, chat? Because make no mistake, perfect for his name, but also Poison Ivy's a girl character? I think it's acceptable, chat. I think pun quality over everything, right? Okay, Evan Mobley in the post. Offensive foul drawn by Miller. Miller on the switch. Stays with the bigger Mobley and gets the offensive foul. And really, it's Mobley turning the elbows high, the rip through. And they're going to call that. Mobley wants a review, but 2 minutes in the third quarter, probably not going to happen. Okay, here we go. Hornets now, they are making up ground a little bit. They're down by 8. A little Brandon Miller, Grant Williams pick and roll. Swinging to the corner to Micic. The ball movement, chat, is crazy right now. Oh, Bridges got to the rim and got the look. But he just couldn't get it to go. And LaMelo is right there with the unselfishness. And it results in Miller getting into the lane and getting a little look. A little fall-away jumper for Miller. The Hornets cut this to 6, chat. Or the Hornets doing like a Broncos thing here. Where we're like, hey, the young guys hanging with the team. Could the Hornets be the one to break the streak? Do the Celtics want to play the Cavs like as a motivated, unbeaten team, or as a team, with no record anymore and just kind of playing, you would assume loose, but also I feel like this Cavs team, or is there a little like, I don't want to say like turning back into a pumpkin, but is there a little like momentum to this team where once it stops, maybe it goes back to earth like a couple of notches. And, like we still all actually think Boston is the best team in the East when they're actually healthy. And yeah, Cleveland would still be maybe the second best team if everybody was at the best version of themselves. But like the Sixers have been bad this year. The Bucks have been bad so far this year. The Knicks are still figuring some stuff out. Defensively, they have not been good. And they've just been inconsistent from night to night. The Magic looked good, but then Paolo went ahead and got hurt. So now they just are missing, maybe the best player in the Eastern Conference at the start of the season. So yeah, maybe they are the second best team in the East, but there's other factors for that. And because there's those other factors, it's like, well, then our confidence in them against Boston will be a little less. But, depending on how they match up against Boston as well, too, on Tuesday night, that could maybe change the perception a little bit. I mean, it definitely will if it's a good matchup. But the Blazers are starting to pull away from the Hawks. Trae Young is back. And Jalen Johnson is cooking tonight. He's got 17, 4 and 4, 6 for 10. So Trae Young with 10 shots, Dyson Daniels with 13 shots, and Jalen Johnson with 10 shots. At least there's some balance there. Richardson is 3 for 6. Your bench guys are right now. Your bench guys are Okongwu, Creechy. Oh, Chad, who's this guy? Our apologies, brother. Vit. His first name is just VIT, Mr. Vit. But our boy Vit, Okongwu, Vit, Larry Nance, and Garrison Matthews, and then Kayvon Wallace is their bench right now. So they're not really bringing in, no Hunter tonight, no Bogdanovich right now injured. They're not really bringing in a ball handler off the bench, secondary creator to kind of run some stuff. I guess our boy Vit a little bit, but he's not taking shots. He's just, moving the ball, getting it moving, making sure people are getting their touches. But all these other guys are defense, bigs. So, because that's the Trae Young coming back. He's going to do his thing. He's going to take away from everybody else. Jalen Johnson's going to suck now. Dyson Daniels going to suck now. Trae Young's going to ruin the team. It's like, I get we're also, maybe if we were running a team, we wouldn't necessarily be jumping at the bit to trade for that guy. But there is also a point where you get the value and you go, maybe what can we get Trae Young for? But the problem is the contract stuff now it's not even, you bring a guy in, you pay the tax bill if you have the owner. At the end of the day, once you're on the team, the tax bill, that stuff is what it is. But it's the mechanics of making the move and actually, what are we going to be capable of going forward if we're in these other aprons? But, what kind of contracts do you have to give up to match the Trae Young contract when you're not able to put together as many pieces as you once were under the new CBA, which was like the thing that you could do is like, oh, can we find a way to package like these 6 contracts together and, trade our bench and a couple of role guys away for a star player? And, again, you still have the salary cap restrictions and it's going to be harder to work. And, you can still run into problems like that. Like we still, the Clippers and stuff, there are still teams that got in trouble spending money, but you still just be like, well, we can still find a way to package 7 guys together to try to trade for somebody. We'll just bundle all of our minimum contracts together and trade for this $20 million a year distressed asset. But now it has to actually be like the contract kind of has to match the contract. It kind of is more geared toward 1-for-1 swaps. And, you're going to have to kind of pay your guy the value and really hope that the value is matching up with the money, matching up with the other players, or just really confident that you're finding good value in the move that you're making. But I still feel like that they can have and be like a playoff. Like this team can still be a playoff team with Trae Young. People are writing him off for the Eastern Conference playoffs. And it's like, well, if they have all these talented players and Trae Young is still a good basketball player, is he going to tank this team to out of the playoffs? Maybe he will. Make no mistake. There's some defensive stuff, and the league is bigger, longer pause, more athletic, all that stuff now. But again, Trae Young's an all-star. Trae Young's an all-NBA guy. Like, we've we've got to give him at least 30 wins in the season. Trae Young is not, I don't think, ever going to, is it going to get to total disaster category? And the thing is, they're, good enough without Trae Young as well, too, that would never happen. But when he's on the court, like if he played all 82 games with that group of guys, the team would not be like a total disaster team, would it? Maybe it would in a couple of years if the league continues to get better. Once Cooper Flagg and the Boozer twins, Ace Bailey, who's that other kid too? AJ something. We always keep saying it, chat, but there's a rush of American talent on the way. Basketball will be fixed in America. Come soon, our American superstars. I mean, we have some already, but in terms of, I think, how the league will flip too, because, I mean, the international prospects are still out there, but, I mean, we knew Wembanyama for a little bit was kind of this big enigma. And then, we've had kind of a special run too, but also, you think about, like, Jokic was this kind of fluke pick regardless of whether he was international or not. Like, and I guess the international part was honestly the reason that he kind of fell a little bit, because maybe there was just the familiarity aspect with him. It's not like he was a college guy he wasn't Brunson, where it was like we saw him win national titles, and now that he's being successful in the NBA, we're like, oh yeah, we're all actually stupid, and he should have gone higher. Like, that's the thing with Jokic. Like, shout out to Brady. Like, even Brady, I think, has a little bit of that where, and maybe we do need to go back and really dig into the Michigan Brady tape before we start talking, but, you don't hear that retroactive the same way as, you would with Brunson. But maybe Brunson's just like a real special sort of case in that aspect. But is there also been a national champion? Is there an obvious example that I'm missing, Chad? Has there have been a national champion quarterback that has slid like that? Because I guess Brady did win the Rose Bowl, right? So, I mean, pretty close. Maybe Brady is an example, chat. We're wrong. IT, cut this out. We're live. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. And we should have given him the benefit of the doubt. But, seeing him win like some bowl games and stuff, and you're like, yeah, maybe this guy shouldn't have. At Michigan, he beats these big opponents. Maybe he shouldn't have actually been like the last pick in the draft. Maybe Brock Purdy is a better example. And again, Brock Purdy, I mean, he's gonna be like multi-time Pro Bowler, maybe a bunch of times in his career. Who knows what the ceiling on him will ultimately be. But how bad do you actually feel for like passing on Brock Purdy? Are you like, oh, there's like, you go back and you look and you're like, yeah, these are the two things that we saw, and we just, we valued these other things instead. But now it's like we know, hey, maybe these things that were the positives actually outweigh the negatives in this way, and maybe we can use that going forward in the evaluating. Or you're just like, no, yeah, Shanahan, he's definitely getting the best out of him, and he's like definitely 4 steps better and ahead of where he was at than Iowa State. But Ty Jerome continuing his massive, I don't know if massive is the right term, but yeah, I would say massive contributions off the bench as a role player. And the thing is, he's been like a legit fourth quarter guy for him. He's a little, I mean, it's easy. The thing is, it's easy to comp guys to great players because they're at the top of your mind all the time. But we're not gonna say Manu. Manu's our GOAT. We can't start throwing that comparison out there loosely, but a guy who's a little Sean Livingston, where like, oh yeah, he's going to win the second unit. This, like, not just win the second unit minutes, but like actually make the second unit, that portion of the game, like a real lethal problem for other coaches and other teams. And he's also a guy that, depending on the matchup and depending on how he's playing, you could have at the end of the game, on the court anyways. I think maybe Sean Livingston at his peak is a little better than Ty Jerome, but Was Sean Livingston an all-star ever? Or 20 points a game? Because, I mean, Sean Livingston, before he got hurt as well, too, was like a lead guard. Like Ty Jerome, this is probably his role as sort of this heat-checky bench type guy. But Livingston was, well, I guess he was coming off the bench there, pausing a little bit, of the early 2000s for the most part. 6th Man of the Year award voting 1 year. Never really got the respect he deserved off the bench. But yeah, he was also the 4th pick overall in the draft. So yeah, I mean, he was at least supposed to be viewed as, you know, a guy with real upside that was going to come in and be a dude. But his shot making as well, too, at times was a little better than Jerome. Jerome is a little bit of a playmaker. He's a herky-jerky, can get to the rim. Having Jerome and Niang both out there, though. Who was it that... Oh, it was Jacoby on... Sam's not here, so we'll do it for him. Shout out Simmons. Jacoby on just Simmons' pod. Talking about how... like, if a player's extra doughy and he can't jump with Jokic, like, maybe it actually helps him not get injured. And Niang and Jerome are definitely in the Pillsbury All-Stars, chat. Do you need to do a Pillsbury All-Stars? Jokic, Niang, Jerome. Grant Williams might be a low-key Pillsbury All-Star as well. This game is full of some Pillsbury All-Stars. Up 6 with 10 minutes left in the 4th. And it is the second units right now with Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome versus Brandon Miller. Who will win this matchup, chat? Probably Ty Jerome, because Brandon Miller's got Grant Williams throwing the ball out of bounds. Trying to equalize him right now. I feel like you know, it's a good teammate thing to take the blame for everything, but also, you know, visually, you can't make every mistake on the court. You got to have a couple in there. Oh, no, that's on that guy. You're like, wait a second, Grant. You're making every mistake on the court? Well, why do we want you out there then? Mobley, is that a turnover again? Another turnover. And I think the other one wasn't the third. But, you know, kind of the NFL quarter, last 15 minutes. In the end, whoa, was that burp on mic chat? Our bad. In the ending of the game-ish minutes, a couple of big turnovers. Brandon Miller can't convert the shot, though. So maybe it'll have to be Ty Jerome making the decisions instead of Evan Mobley. Niang, though, is just on fire right now. Where is he at for the season? And he is not the only guy right now, chat, that has been shooting crazy efficient. The shooting efficiency, he's only at 35% for the season, 48% for 3. But I was looking at some of the numbers earlier in the week, and at one point in the week, I was looking at the amount of guys shooting 50% from the field and 40% from the 3. And, like, you know, actual rotation guys. At least guys in the bench, top 7 of the lineup. Like, actually trying to contribute real minutes. Let me see if oh, chat. Did I not write this down? Did I take a screenshot, chat? Is it on the other laptop? Wait, what happened to my screenshot, chat? Okay, wait a second. For some reason, it's not opening. Are we having old man IT issues? old man IT issues. Not old man T issues, chat. Pause. Are we live? Cut it out. Old man on the computer with the IT. Let's see if we can get this. Oh, well, chat. It was like I want to say 20-ish guys. And it was not with the free throw percentage as well, too. It was just the 50%, 40% marker. But especially, you go back even in like 20 years ago, and it was just one person doing that. Again, even without the free throw percentage, just the 50-40, one person per a whole year. But, since then it goes up a little bit. Can we run our live stat check, chat? Let's run our live, because I guess we can update it as well, too. Like I said, I was looking at it earlier in the week. So we'll get a real, actual, accurate number and see if it's still holding up. Because now we're a little farther into the season as well, too, where, the stats for the season, it's like, okay, maybe this is actually a trend. And the scoring isn't, and I haven't looked like scoring for team or whatever, but if you look at like the individual points per game, like we had that a couple seasons ago where, it seemed like there was almost like 10 guys, a handful of guys scoring 30 points a game. We just like this insane number. And there's only a couple this year, I think, that are doing it. And, we had like Embiid and Luka and stuff in like the 36, 34, super high scoring totals. But this year it's been the efficiency. And it seems like guys are having, and not everybody, but, the guys that are having the efficient seasons. Seems like guys are having a lot of them are having career years this year. So let me see if I can look this up here real quick. We want to find the shooting stats for players in the season. Speaking of Simmons, we don't want to turn into Verno. We actually want to try to get this looked up. But I think we'll actually do it here. Pause. Let's see if we can get it. Okay, yeah, here we go. Okay, chat. We're locked and loaded. We just got to get the right criteria in. And then we'll be good to go. Oh, the problem is, chat, I'm going to have to put like the extra filter or two on it. Because it's going to be like the random guy that shows up in the search that's like, okay, we get it. You're 4 for 5 from 3 this season. Which, shout out, you want to capitalize on your opportunities. But we're talking about the big dogs on the big porch eating from the big bowl. We're talking about the guys in the rotation. So maybe we should actually put like some minutes in here as well too. Okay, I think this will be the right search, chat. Let's see if we get the numbers. This is the Doc Brown. We have a Doc Brown moment every episode. This is it. We plug the moments into plug the criteria into the chat. And I think we've got it. Okay, yeah, so right now this season is still by far the most compared to recent seasons. But let me make sure, all these guys in here are legit. Yeah, see, like we've got, the names are legit. Like David Roddy, legit name. But let's see if David Roddy's actually getting out there. Like how much has Lindy Waters actually played this year? Is Lindy Waters getting out there? Pause. Okay, 10 games at 13 minutes a game. Been actually breaking through in the rotation. So yeah, okay. I think we're in a good spot. So this season, chat, and I put it at guys played 100 minutes so far. That's like a little less than 10 minutes a game at this point, but it's not per game, so, if you maybe miss some time, I feel like it makes up for it. I feel like that's a good cutoff. Just a generic number to throw out there. But 34 guys this season have played at least 100 minutes and gone 50-40. Oh, well, see, now I'm thinking I should have checked the shooting, too. See, we're live Doc Brown research chat. Okay, real quick, we'll check one more guy and see how many attempts he's taken. Oh, okay, yeah. Let's do one more 3-point like shooting amount attempt, because KJ Martin's in here, and KJ Martin's done what we were talking about. He's like taken half a 3-pointer a game. Like, okay, you're making you're shooting 1 for 2 every other game. Good job. You should actually be shooting efficiently. That's the thing. If you're taking 1 and 2 3-pointer attempts a game, you actually have to shoot 50%. You actually have to be an elite, to be the best 3-point shooter all time if you're taking 2 3-point attempts a game. Because you're either making 50% of them or you suck. But the amount of attempts, we actually want these guys to be putting up shots. We want a sample size, chat, to make sure that we actually get a good glimpse of the season. Okay. So guys that are actually taking some 3-pointers here. 3 or more 3-pointers a game in 100 minutes played this season. 20 guys are shooting 50% from the field and 40% from the 3, at least. The second highest number was last season. It was 11. So it could very obviously drop off a little bit as some of the bench guys that are maybe putting up some, more efficient numbers on some lower minutes, maybe as that continues to even out. But, you go back, last year it was 11. 2 years ago it was 3. In 2022, 2023, it was Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, and Skylar Mays. In 2021, 22, 2 people. 8 people in 2020, 2021. But that would have been right after COVID. 5 people during the bubble season. 3 people the year before that. So outside, last year was, I guess, even a bigger jump than this year, because like we said, it went from 3 to 11. But still, we saw 8 a couple years ago. So we'll see how that kind of paces out over the season. But right now, the guys in the mix are, we've got Abaji, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Christian Braun, Amir Coffey, Jay Huff, Karis LeVert, Taurean Prince, as some of kind of the role guys that just meet the criteria in terms of the amount of attempts. I put it in for 3 attempts a game, at least. So not a ton, but, we're not asking everybody to be Stephen Curry here. Less than 1 a quarter. But then for some of the actual guys, we've got Durant, Darius Garland, Aaron Gordon, Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, Karis LeVert, Benedict Mathurin, Pascal Siakam, Karl Towns, Vucevic, Naz Reid, Jay Huff. Did we mention him already? Al Horford? So the efficiency at an all-time high in the NBA, chat. We're conflicted now, chat, because this is turning into a close Hornets game. But it is almost time for us to start to end this stream. Pause, because we do have we're gonna have to pinch off the stream at some point, chat, because we do have things to get to the rest of the night. But it's been a stacked weekend on the Rem and Sam pod feed. We've been live all weekend. It's been our biggest weekend yet, chat. The Tyson fight, the Corday album, and now Week 11 NFL action. It's been fun. Thank you guys, of course, as always, for jumping on, for hanging out with us. But stay on the feeds. Of course, like I said, we'll be back with the NBA Cup on Tuesday. Watching these Cavs play the Celtics. But maybe some more. I'm sure there'll be more stuff to talk about between now and Tuesday. The world's always tuning. We left tuning. I don't know if it's been tuned recently, but seems like we're pacing for it with some of the moves that are being made. And it is turning anyways, and things are always happening. But we left a lot of NFL stuff on the board as well, too. So maybe there'll be some stuff that we have to get off our chest on Tuesday night. But I think we have to cut it off right about there. Shout out to John Jones for taking down Stipe last night. And he had said it before the fight, but I know Dana White had said that the winner of this fight would face Aspinall, but John Jones has said that he's only going to fight Pereira, and I think that is, that's the fight that we all want. I get Aspinall Jones would be a good fight as well, too, but I think John Jones, the more he's been asked about, the more the quote comes out, there's always an extra descriptor of Aspinall, so it's not, I think he is trying to make it clear that, he's not scared of, obviously he's not scared of Aspinall in that sense, but the risk-reward factor is just not there for him. He's not going to win enough from the fight versus what he could lose if Aspinall were to potentially knock him out. It's clearly giving Aspinall a chance to raise his name value more than John Jones can raise him. That's the thing that Pereira actually can do for Aspinall that John Jones can't. John Jones taking down Aspinall would be him taking down, again, another amazing fighter. And maybe Aspinall's career as well, too, could kind of make that John Jones fight as it would continue to develop around that. Assume, John Jones, if he doesn't mess him up too bad, which, Aspinall's a good fighter. I'm sure he'd hang very well. If not, like we were saying at this stage, if not have a chance to actually beat him. But, the legacy move, the needle for John Jones, he's kind of in the same spot legacy-wise, whether or not he beats Aspinall. He really only goes backwards from a loss. And even a loss doesn't really take away from him. It really only is a record. It really only affects the number on his record, the number in his bank account as well, too, depending on what the fight makes in a fight versus Aspinall. It does not, at least for me anyways at this stage, as an ignorant UFC newcomer, does not add the legacy bump that it would against Pereira. Pereira would actually be another real mark for him to take down, another oh yeah, that's an all-time great UFC legend that John Jones put to bed and got the fight win against. Excuse us. But shout out taking down Stipe. And I think, did we call the TKO in the third? I don't know. Check the tapes. Like we said, we've been live all weekend. We made a lot of predictions. We've reacted to a lot of stuff. So it's all on the channel. It's all out there. If you guys want to go back and see what's up. But we're also on Instagram. We're also on TikTok. We're also on Spotify and Apple, which will be back up and running as soon as possible. Thank you guys for jumping on tonight. Go enjoy your Sunday Night Football action. Hopefully you all had a good Sunday, Week 11. Shout out Richardson. Welcome back to Indianapolis. Good to see the man playing well in the Colts with a win. But we'll be back on Tuesday. Stay tuned.